This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this morning I have for you 8 stories queued up, ready to go from yesterday, from Tuesday, that you deem conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. I want to thank everybody real quick for giving me a little bit of space, a little bit of leeway, and get over my little bit of crud I had yesterday because we could not perform. We basically tried to do this. We were ready to go, and things just didn't work out. And thank you for allowing me to give you the quick hits version of this for all the platforms. And, of course, we're going to start doing that specifically for the TikTok platform so they can get all the headlines, but except not all the news. So we're going to work on that and get that in the workflow, which means this may come out a little bit later going forward. We're going to do what we can on that one. But the stories we have are hot off the presses, starting with, of course, Trump's joint address last night. Oh, yeah, we are going sort of there. Trump's trade. Trump's trade. We'll talk about Trump's trade and his tariffs going back and forth. And y'all don't like Meghan Markle. No. You want to talk about her, you get engaged, but you don't really like her. Those 3 pieces and 5 other for this morning. Now, we'll explain the vetting process in a bit, but right now, remind you where to find us, what to do when you find us. The website is thisisaconversationproject.com for all the information you need to know about the full offerings of the Conversation Project and some more media stuff as well. That's coming with some hypes as well. You can email us with conversational stuff and sometimes rambling stuff, because that's how emails work. At the conversation inbox at gmail.com. We're really not getting much spam there, but please don't test us. We like the fact that it's purely reminders of things and login effects and, of course, conversation with you. It's really clean, really easy. We chat back with you directly. It works. Let's get into the headlines for yesterday, today, as the day is Wednesday, March the 5th, 2025. Whenever you're watching this, this is being produced for you in the morning, very early. But whatever you get from this, this is a recap of things that happened mostly yesterday. Some things maybe snuck in from this morning. Something that may have snuck in from this morning because it was a long, long time coming. For our number 1 story today, because it had to be, Trump highlights his first 6 weeks in office during a lengthy address to Congress. And by lengthy, the longest address in modern knowledge and history, 1 hour, 40 minutes. Now, maybe J.Q. Adams was a little verbose, but this is the first time in a while that somebody was on the tape doing this, beating Clinton's long one by about 20 minutes, I believe. So the joint session held yesterday, March the 4th, is not a State of the Union, but the speaker can call a joint session anytime he needs to and have people show up. Essentially, when Zelensky came and talked, that's what happens there. When various members of high office come, they have a joint session and they let them talk and speak whatever. This is what this is, although it's basically timed, I guess, a little later than a address and right after the election where not very much has happened, or not much time has elapsed. But here's a case where a lot has happened in the 6 weeks, 40-something odd days of time. And the address was itself extensive, underscoring the administration's achievements during this time and focusing on things like the economy, national security, and social issues. Now, I'm going to produce something later for the You're Welcome channel that's going to go deeper into the actual topics and into some of the more highly contested things that needed to be fact-checked inside of the topics, including the fact there's a couple folks that are 300 years old getting Social Security checks. Yeah, we're gonna go there in other places. But he emphasized in this address the commitment to revitalizing the American economy, also tariffs on China, Mexico, Canada, anybody who's going to put them on us, and of course wanting to get an Iron Dome for ourselves. If Iron Dome happens for Israel. And, Reagan couldn't get it done because the technology didn't exist. But now it's time for our own defense system, our own missile system, because that would be cool. Yes, that would be cool. Also, social issues, immigration, transgender issues, law enforcement, first responders, benefits to shipbuilding, and pledging to balance the federal budget, which has been done in 20 years. So let's go ahead and do it now. He also gave a lot of love to Elon Musk and his band of married men, young married men, he said, make sure he point out they were young, who are running the Department of Government Efficiency. Now, he said Musk leads it. The White House says no, it's this other lady, but Musk is leading it per him, running the show and getting things done for efficiency, cutting costs, essentially was doing. So how did he play last night? Mixed reactions. Republicans were happy to applaud what is going on. Democrats were mostly quiet. They did get a bit of a rancor, if you will. The protests were pink jackets for women's rights, people who walked out wearing resist shirts, and of course, they kicked out Al Green from Texas for going loud pretty quick. That's something Mike Johnson was like, we're not going to do this tonight. So Mike Johnson got on the hammer, literally the gavel, and gavelled him for the state Sergeant Orange to take him away. The response from Senator Elisa Slotkin, which I admit I did not watch because the whole thing went too damn long, was a rebuttal as opposed to it criticized Trump's policies, warning of potential economic consequences, and all the things that could happen, especially with the tariffs. Now, I'm pretty sure it was taped ahead of time because they do that because it's so late. They don't do it live anymore. And so they went with a draft that went forward. And so it was a safe thing to point out. Some of the things that also happened yesterday were a young boy who's battling cancer was made an honorary Secret Service agent. A young man who wants to go to West Point got his slot by Donald Trump. I guess Trump's going to be his sponsor, I guess, going forward. And a lot of calls to a lot of people who have made news or been in the news going forward. Overall, for a Donald Trump speech, it was a fairly good, well-produced, pushed-out speech. For the information said, for my opinion, too many lies, too many lies. Oh, yeah, that's a wrestling theme song. But yeah, it was way too much misinformation, disinformation, things that just flat out were weird. Although he stopped talking about eating the dogs, eating the cats, so there's that. Your opinion and your mileage may vary on your thoughts on it, so send me your opinion, send me your thoughts. We want to know. And I'm a big boy. I can take it. We know most of the thoughts on the trade war, which is tariffs, beautiful tariffs that are now on the books for Mexico, Canada, and China. The pause is over. They are there. Now, what's going to happen is 25% tariffs on basically all stuff from Mexico and Canada, extra 10% on China. I think they have 12, 15% right now. So they're going to go up to close to 25% on what's going on. Most of the actual leaders actually addressed this already. Canada announced it's going to reciprocate 25% tariffs on goods. And the mayor of Ontario basically said he's going to shut off the oil, shut off the power. That's what he wants to do. China's going to add 10 to 50% on top of theirs as well. They're doing mostly agricultural exports, which are soybeans, pork, and beef. And those are going to go into effect March the 10th. Both of those could be in effect. Mexico has not said what they're doing yet, but they're working it out. It takes time to do this stuff. They'll let us know on the 9th, and probably sometime a few days after that. That should be Sunday, and sometimes Monday morning, those tariffs will be in place as well. They're raising concerns with business members here as the stock market is going up and down, up and down. It got a bit of a boost with futures last night from the speech, I would say. But the biggest strain is going to farmers particularly because, number one, many of these things we've shut down in Doge actually buys food commodities from our farmers, even though it goes other places. So that's food not being bought. That's stuff not going out there. And just in general, the tariffs for the actual things they sell directly to other people will now be more expensive. We will see how it plays so far. We'll see if the stock market wants to rebound and stay up for right now. I'm not happy with my stocks. You know, we know that Robinhood's a sponsor, and I have my play stocks there as well. I've been watching that to keep an eye on how the markets go. The markets aren't going so well at the moment. Let's talk about OPM because we need to. OPM has actually reversed a memo on firing probationary employees, saying that the final decision is going to be left up to the actual agencies involved, not the OPM itself. So the blanket emails, all little form letters are going out from OPM saying your performance is bad. That actually didn't really go through OPM, but just someone just pulled some numbers, fired some people that were off probationary status so they can just fire folks, are going to change. But what's going to happen with this, it's how it works out. As U.S. District Judge William Alsop determined the OPM had exceeded its legal authority on directing the mass terminations, they can actually say people need to be fired. They can even say these groups of people should be targeted, but it's actually up to the people running the organizations to go through the list, see who's out there, see who's good, who's bad, and who they actually need to work, as opposed to, here's a list of folks, we're going to send them an email, they're fired, deal with it. Which seems to be how Doge is working. It seems to be not working so well for people who get fired. Including the number that about a third of all people who are let go are veterans. And some of them are recent veterans, and some of them are veterans who have been doing this for a while, but are actually received upgrades and receipts for promotions, moving up the ranks in civil service. People who say, I served my country once, I want to keep serving it, and this doesn't work out so well. We will see how this works out going. Right now, about 30,000 probationary federal workers who are left are dealing with stuff, and we'll see how this plays out as the unions are trying to find some clarification, trying to make this thing work out a little bit better. They understand reducing the government workforce is a thing, makes sense. But if you're trying to save all your money by firing all your people, yeah, we're getting to the find out stage of the FA part pretty quickly. BlackRock has secured a deal to bring the Panama Canal ports under control of the U.S. A consortium led by BlackRock has agreed to acquire the majority stake in C.K. Hutchings Holdings, a port operations which includes strategic Balboa and Cristobal ports on either side of the Panama Canal. The deal is worth about $23 billion. We hear the acquisition will place these critical maritime assets under U.S. control, addressing long-standing concerns about foreign influence in the fertile waterways. Now, as we say before, these ports encompass 43 across 23 countries, so they will take over a lot of ports around the area and around the world. Particularly significant because they're the ones in the Pacific and Atlantic at the entrances of the Panama Canal. These are ports owned by a company, holding company, shell company, whatever, that is China owned, China produced, China involved. So the involvement is going away. As of January 2025, Panama said they were going to not let the contract go. So it takes a little time to clear it out. So yeah, they got to, burn the servers and set things on fire and take the USA keys off the keyboards or something out of whatever they're going to do. But BlackRock is going to get into this thing. BlackRock leading the group to do this. So it'll be a strategic move to make sure the US, us, have more control on the canal that we built, us building it. Now, the canal is run by the Panamanian government. The canal itself is run by people in Panama. And that's a good thing. But the sides of it, the ports, have been run for a while by these consortiums that have a lot of Chinese involved. We worry, which we have reason to worry about, so we're going to put our hands on this thing and run ourselves. It's up to us not to run the thing aground now, going forward. Pause from the news stories. 4 down, 4 more to go, but we're going to get to them obviously in a moment. But we're going to take a quick moment to ask your help for something. We want to grow more people in our Nerd Nation world, so we need you to help us do this by liking, sharing, subscribing to the videos you're seeing. This one coming out to you on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube Live is one of them, but we have things on those channels as well. We have things on our TikTok channels. We have our audios that come out wherever your pods are catched, so get an audio version of this. We also have the email newsletter. Go to the website, find links to it. That comes out basically right after we produce this, going out live, because it's multiple layers of stuff going on. You can just get straight links with the news articles. You can get my voice and not my face, so you can make it easier accessible while you're walking, working, whatever. Or you can play it on YouTube in the background. Do what I do for most YouTube things. Play it while I'm doing other things and look over so often because, they change images every 3 seconds. If you like it, I know I'm picking the right stories. The algorithm thinks I'm picking the right stories and will share this with more people to see. If you share it with people who like this stuff, they will hopefully like it, and they will hopefully share it with other people who would like to see or hear me do these things. Or they may hate, share, and like you guys do for Meghan Markle. She is coming, trust me. If you're not getting this natively in your feeds, wherever they are, whether they're in your podcast feeds, whether they are in your email for the email newsletter, or on the social media feeds we have, or YouTube, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our page so you get them with notifications or not. You can find them as you need to. They come direct to you so you can make sure you don't miss out on what we're talking about and get your chance to talk to me or talk at me, however you want to go with that. This next story is one that's been going back and forth for a while, and now we have more details on it, which are great details because it really tells us what happened. The headline, no charges for deputy in fatal traffic stop shooting for Indiana man pardoned by Trump. I'm going to read this directly and just kind of move away from this, not commentary this one, because I'm going to let the robot editor pull what it pulled from its pieces and pulled out there, because the commentary sort of fits in itself. And if you have a mind like I do, I know where you're going with this. And if you don't have a mind like I do, I may not know. So comment on this one, but let me get you the details per the straight story, because we want to get details out, actual facts, and not get muddled by feelings. An Indiana sheriff's deputy will not face charges in the fatal shooting of Matthew Huddle, a 42-year-old man recently pardoned by President Donald Trump for his involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot. The incident occurred on January 26, 2025, during a traffic stop in Jasper County, Indiana. According to authorities, Huddle was pulled over for speeding, traveling 70 miles per hour in a 55 zone, and was informed by the deputy that he would be arrested for being a habitual traffic violator, a felony offense. Huddle resisted arrest, fled his vehicle, and attempted to retrieve his firearm, stating, "I'm shooting myself." Fearing for his safety, the deputy fired multiple shots, resulting in Huddle's death. A loaded 9mm handgun was an additional ammunition were recovered from Huddle's vehicle. Clinton County Prosecutor's Office renewed and reviewed the case and concluded that the deputy was legally justified in using deadly force to defend himself. That's the quote in the statement. Consequently, no charge will be filed against the deputy involved in the shooting. I'm moving on this, but yeah, this was essentially, we know this because we have body cam footage that has been released by the media. And once you see it, it's very hard to kind of get it out of your mind. So there's that. Commentary, if you must have it, go ahead and have it. But this is one that should speak for itself. I love Actually. I actually love all scenes where people kind of rush past security and they kind of run in a chase going back and forth to someone to go to tell someone they love them. I love Actually because that little snot-nosed kid is running off because his American love, who he thinks he's never going to see again, although she comes back months later to the airport and they're all there, including Liam Neeson and Claudia Schiffer. But I love that movie, and I believe that little felon should have got a hard time for resisting arrest for the most part. That's what these people should get as well. A couple was detained after forcing their way past airport security while rushing for a Mexico flight. This couple, arrested at Miami International Airport, was attempting to force their way into an American Airlines flight to Cancun. It occurred when the couple, identified as Rafael Sierra de Novales and Beatrix Rapaport de Campos Maria, that's a lot of names, arrived late for their flight and tried to bypass security protocols to board the plane. According to reports, during the altercation, that's a word, one of the individuals allegedly threw coffee at airline staff members. Both Serafov Novales and De Campos Maria were subsequently arrested by Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputies. Serafia Novales faces charges of resisting officer without violence and trespassing, while De Campos Maria has been charged with 2 counts of battery and trespassing through the coffee. American Airlines condemned the incident, stating that the acts of violence are not tolerated and they are cooperating with law enforcement to further the investigation. The flight had a brief delay because of the scuffle outside, but it got to Cancun with pretty much no other issues going forward. Good cops doing good things at the airport. Salute you all. So the winter storm that we teased yesterday, and we'll talk about that when we get to the teaser section in 2 stories, did come to fruition here. And we call it a winter storm because it's a storm in the winter. But the big issues were blizzard warnings and heavy winds for fires and maybe tornadoes. So it wasn't so much winter conditions, but it was really, really, really damp and dreary and not so nice yesterday here in Arkansas. Luckily, no real severe weather happened here, which we're very lucky for. But there were some places where there were blizzard warnings, and in Texas, mass power outages and fires going forward. The powerful storm that moved across the U.S. and is still moving towards the East Coast right now caused some power outages in Texas, some blizzard warnings in the central U.S., and a lot of other wildfire risk in the South, including South Carolina as well. Strong winds took down power lines in Texas and caused some fires that were, for the most part, contained fairly easily, but they're fires that should not have been set basically because of knocking over power lines, things like that, sparking things in the dry areas there. About 30,000 residents of North Texas were without power at one point in time. Central Plains had some blizzard conditions, strong winds and heavy snow, making travel hazardous and the risk of power outages there. They got through it okay. Chicago and Milwaukee are preparing for severe weather as the storm system moves eastward, so they're going to get it coming now. And what's listed as the southern high plains, New Mexico, West, and Central Texas were where the forecast of strong winds came in, dry air, and they had some fast-spreading wildfires. Luckily, they were contained pretty quickly. San Antonio now faces more risk of wildfire damage from the winds that still stay there, potentially historic, if you will, because of the dryness and low humidity in the area at the time. We are in the fall spring, so what you're feeling is not necessarily the warmth of a new dawn and everything growing yet. So things are still really dry from winter, and things are really cold from the back and forth with Punxsutawney Phil. So residents are advised to secure outdoor objects that could be blown away. Also avoid outdoor burning for igniting other fires, and stay updated with weather conditions to follow guidance from local authorities. These are people that are mostly in the range of the fires, but anyone dealing with any severe weather should be wary on their own. I don't understand what it is about Meghan Markle or Prince Harry or Harry and Meghan together, but people don't like her. And that's okay, because if it's just regular me watching my regular newscast, I would scan this and move on because so I'd know what's going on. But people just don't seem to like her, and we get a lot of responses when we throw her up here for some odd reason. She is not the polarizing figure that Donald Trump is. She's a whole nother level of what it is. And while I do think everything that was done to her, well, those words used on purpose, overseas when she was living amongst the royal family because, I don't know, racism, the things that she's apparently doing for herself, just being not a very kind, nice person, those things eventually will catch up to her. And right now, maybe they are. But the commentary we have here is that she is actually acknowledging some mistakes that she's done in her public return as her new Netflix series is coming on the air, because she actually needs to promote it and promote her stuff. Now, the series is called With Love, Meghan. With Love, Meghan. That's what it is. With Love, comma, Meghan. It's an introduction of her lifestyle brand, As Ever, which is a rebranding of her other brand, which she has rebranding because people think she stole the name, and people think she stole this name as well. So this will continue. A recent interview says she acknowledges her mistakes during re-entry of the lifestyle sector, reflecting on the challenges faced in this transition. It's an 8-episode series that showcases Markle engaging in activities such as cooking, gardening, and hosting, often accompanied by celebrity guests. In the final episode, she toasts to a new chapter, expressing excitement about the creative freedom she now enjoys, sentiment perceived by some as her subtle reference to her past life as a royal. So, critical reception. We're going to go with mixed. Some reviewers describe it as smug and inauthentic, as they describe her mostly, pointing to a portrayal of her opulent lifestyle that may not resonate with all viewers. People don't see themselves as Meghan. They see a princess who's a bit spoiled and an actress who's a bit, yeah, exactly. Despite the critiques, the series offers insight into Markle's personal interests and her efforts to establish a distinct identity beyond her royal associations. Yeah, Meghan Markle is back. We can't stop it. And if you guys want to talk about it, we're going to talk about it. We have wrapped up 8 stories from Tuesday. We now have 30-odd stories that will be posted throughout the day for Wednesday, and you get a chance to help us pick the 8 stories for the Thursday edition of the show. How do we do that? You say to me, sort of mind melding because I can't actually hear you. That's a good question, person I can't actually hear. Because this is a dialogue, this is a conversation, not a monologue, we provide for you those 30 stories I mentioned before in our feeds on social media for you to engage in. It's simple. It's math. It scores. You engage in the stories you put on Facebook or on x.com/th_conversation, or facebook.com/thisisconversationproject. And every 50 minutes or so, we will see a new article from various places. Some you may like the articles or the place. Some you may hate the articles or the place. But if you want to talk more about it, engage in it. Do what you need to do. Just click the emoji face that you want to click on for it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it, comment on it, read it. Read it a few times. The more engagement a story gets, literally the more times it gets touched, the better chance we have of chatting it up come the next day. The next day being Wednesday, Thursday, tomorrow. We'll give you 8 stories from top 15 for the 30 stories or so that we'll have on the daytime and present them to you here. Now, if we pick the wrong stories, email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com and we can chat up that about why and how and things like that. Here's the deal for headline for today. This one may take a while because we stacked a lot of stories based on this one. If you're watching this on the live feed, even though it's live to tape, it may take a while to get to this one in your feed. If you're watching it later in the day, you may have to go search for it. Education Secretary Linda McMahon announces plans for the department's final mission. That's in air quotes because Donald Trump told Linda McMahon to put herself out of a job, and that is what she's going to try to do. Now, I will be one of the few people who will admit it publicly that I thought she was a fairly good CEO for the WWF/E as it is right now. Of course, the shenanigans that the family played in the dealings very over the top, sometimes very stupid, which sort of brought her into this case as why is this lady who pretended to be in a coma trying to run this company or run these departments. She has a background in that, in business, things like that. This role in Department of Education extremely worries me. But we'll see how it plays out, literally since she's going to play it out to its final death going forward. We teased yesterday the March storm, and that's what we talked about, some of the aftermath. In its wake, wasn't quite as bad as we expected. Also ain't done yet, so we have that as well. If you want to talk Linda McMahon or any of our stories, go to our feeds on Facebook and X and engage in the stories. The stories to get the higher engagement, we'll take a look at. We'll pick 8 of the top half of stories to provide for you here. And as I said, if you don't like them stories, email me. We'll chat it in the back end. We decided to stick with ground news for the week because the collective we, me, and the 2 people who are doing some help with this week, all have busy lives, busy things going on. And we, had to watch the president last night. That was a thing. But ground news is not a second thought for a sponsor. It's just we use it extensively all weekend long. It's our weekend sponsor, so we try to mix other sponsors in. And we were planning on doing some things for More and Better Media for promoting ourselves. Time got out of the way. Ground news, especially with the speech last night, it's a great thing to have to keep up with. They allow you to go beyond the headlines and get an unbiased perspective, or get a more biased perspective technically, because it allows you to see what the local, national, global stories are being covered from all angles. Uncover where the news is coming from so you know how you're getting it and why you're getting that news to you. If you're a siloed news person, which is fine, you can get a chance to see what the other sides are actually talking about. And in fact, if you use their blind spot feature, you'll see what stories that you're being fed a lot of that the other side is not, and vice versa. So your opinions does matter, but you can either see what follows your opinion or ignore it, but actually see what's actually being said by those sides and those outlets and who owns them, because that's what's important. You know who actually owns the outlet, who actually pushes the news, what their actual leaning is. It makes you wonder what they're saying. Now, if you're a left-leaning person that doesn't want to see any right stuff, and a right-leaning person wants to see left stuff, that's fine, but take a look at it and then be angry at what you actually see and not what you're being told you're being told you're being seen, because most often they are lying to you. Cut through the noise. Download Ground News today and get in on their Vantage plan for 40% off with our link. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news, and get in on the ground floor for your news coverage. See beyond headlines and see beyond the bias. Think on your own with Ground News. Hype for the Conversation Project. We live online at this is theconversationproject.com, where your voice shapes the news coverage. You tell us what to talk about. You join in the community and you tell us your values, your thought process, the things you love and hate about these news stories, and we talk about them in various forms. One form is this thing here, things you might not have heard. So you got a chance to go through yesterday and engage in some stories, and I got some stories that seem good enough. I'll put these back out, some of these back out in clips to go deeper in detail for people who don't want to see the whole thing. But we do this to various locations so we can have a great conversation with many folks in many places. We'll put some of the clips on TikTok. We also have a new rundown on TikTok where we go through the headlines very quickly. We'll put some things out there in the podcast. We'll put out little extra stuff. And as time allots in the day, we'll have some news stories that aren't quite covered in our stuff yet, but we know they're topical and conversational, so they may actually help drive conversation for the next show. Go to our website. This is theconversationproject.com and find out more about what we do, how we do it, find out past episodes, visit our sponsors, visit our partnership page and consider being a partner, and just see how the Nerd Nation works. Also, email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com to talk up anything you want to, but the most important thing you do is follow us on our feeds and engage there, because this is conversation is a conversation. This is a conversation. That's what the project's all about. Social issues, politics, science, tech, pop culture. We'll talk about it all if you want to talk about it. Thoughtful, divisive and diverse discussions. Read it wrong, but actually maybe meant more sense. With us on social media. Subscribe for updates. See what we can build our community. The News Nerd Nation needs more of you here. Like, share, and subscribe to make that happen. So we are done for this day. It is Wednesday. Wednesday, March the 5th, 2025. It's Ash Wednesday. So if you do celebrate that, today is a day for the beginning of Lent. We're working up to Easter, 40 days until we have that celebration. I happen to celebrate that, so we'll get there. Don't do the ashes, but we do have a big Ash Wednesday celebration for the school I work with, which is a affiliate with the AME Church. Ash Wednesday service will happen today. Stop by and see us if you want to. 11 o'clock at the campus of Shorter College. We're there for you. Or wherever your churches are ashing, they're ashing everywhere. In the meantime, thank you so much for being a part of the show for this Wednesday and all the days we do this. Being a part of the conversation, engaging in conversation, because we can't do this literally without you, and just being grand. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the great things you're here to do. Life is a marathon. Do not make it a sprint. I love you guys so much. Mean it so much. We're wrapping up because we got a full day ahead of stuff. So let's get into it. You as well. Join us again for another Things You Might Not Have Heard happening for, unless some issues happen, sometimes they do, Thursday morning.